Today we are going to do a very special podcast, and this podcast is based on science, commerce, international business, but the subject is something which is connecting a lot of things, but it is about seaweeds.
It is very unfortunate that we call it as a weed because weed has a negative connotation. And previously also I told in one of the meetings that if you ask me personally, I would call it as a kalparuksh of sea. We do not know that we have been using at least 30 to 40 products every day, which are some part of seaweed. Just to give you example, that when we get up and brush our teeth, so toothpaste which contains substantial amount of seaweed, around 36 million metric ton fresh seaweed is the annual production, which has a trade value of 18 billion US dollar. Yeah, Vishwam, I think a future is bright for seaweed research, and there are many new ideas are taking shape.
Hello and welcome to Variety with Vishwam, and today we are going to do a very special podcast, and this podcast is based on science, commerce, international business, but the subject is something which is connecting a lot of things, but it is about seaweeds. Seaweed is a very important aspect which we are going to talk, which people have not talked about. And we have Dr. Vaibhav Mantri. He is a very senior scientist at CSMCRI, and it's a very strong organization which is working on minerals, sea ecosystem, lot of things put together. So we'll hear from them. And thank you very much, sir, for giving this opportunity where we have come to your head office in Bhavnagar, and we are doing this podcast, and we'll know further.
Yeah. Very good afternoon to you and welcome to CSMCRI. I too am very happy, to share my experience with you.
Right. Thank you, sir, once again, where we are trying to explore a very different dimension. You have been associated with science, you have been associated with seaweed extensively. So you have been working on the research, but also empowering a lot of startups who want to start up seaweed business. So people,
Yes.
we'll also talk about that opportunities. I really want to talk about it because we would want people to know from the startup ecosystem how seaweeds can be used in business and different aspects. So can you briefly share that which are the key areas CSMCRI works on?
So you see, our institute was established on 10th April 1954. And you have to understand that when our country got separated from Pakistan, most of the salt producing areas were went to neighboring country, and we were not having sufficient salt even for our domestic needs. And that's how CSIR understood the importance of salt research, and our institute basically was established. And that's how we largely work, as name suggests, work on salt. So improving the quality, assessing the quality, and new technology development, and training and skilling salt agarias. That's our one of the most important domain. Followed by, we also work on water. We have a desalination membrane division where we are basically trying to utilize indigenous technologies for making affordable drinking water, from brackish or salt saline water. That's another domain. Seaweed, as I'm going to speak shortly. Apart from that, another division where we are working on salt loving plants, halophytic plant, how we can utilize areas. There are several areas today because of salinity ingress. You cannot cultivate other agriculture crops, and there are other areas which are available in the intertidal areas. So we are developing agronomy practices and We are developing different specific products from this. So these are some of the important areas our institute is working.
People see seaweeds as just one of the plant in the sea ecosystem, but let's talk about marine ecosystem more strongly.
Yeah.
And so viewers, what I would want to share is that please look at this podcast with environmental impact thought, and also look at this podcast with a commerce impact part. And at the same point of time, we'll also try to understand what CSMCRI does. And let's hear from him. Sir, so you come from a very small coastal town of Malvan. That's what we had
Yes.
initially you had shared, that you came from there. So there are a lot of people who are coming from humble backgrounds and they are making a huge impact. So our role model, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he became president. So he inspired a lot of people. But uh, you coming from a humble background, how did you choose science and how did that happen? I really want to start from there.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Vishwam. And true that I have come from a very small place called Malvan. It is a coastal town at the border of Maharashtra and Goa. As you all know that being in a small town, we used to go always on the sea coast, and different sea is a different ecosystem, as you rightly said.
Hmm.
We generally know many things on land, but we possibly do not know what is there in the sea.
Right.
And when I was in my 11th and 12th, I really got to know more about sea. And we were taught about mangroves, the plants which occupy the place between high tide and low tide in the intertidal area, and then seaweeds, which people generally think that are not useful. And I basically was very fascinated by seeing all these kind of even including animals
Hmm.
on the sea coast. And then when I basically took admission to BSc, I was, I was more exposed in more detail with these subjects, especially in botany or marine biology kind of a thing. And that's how I started knowing more about seaweed.
Hmm.
And of course, when I chose to go with phycology as a subject, in my master's, and let me tell you that our teachers make a lot of impact. I'm sure you will also agree. And I was fortunate to have such teachers
Hmm.
who basically ignited, in my mind more curiosity about marine as such, and with specifically as a seaweed or a phycology. And that's how I came here in CSMCRI, because you can find out that CSMCRI is the largest organization and the only organization which is working on seaweed today.
Okay. Okay. So it's a age-old organization which is working continuously on seaweed. We'll talk further. But sir, how was your journey with CSMCRI?
I was doing my PhD. After my master's, I cleared GATE exam, and then I got a JRF, Junior Research Fellowship, at Agarkar Research Institute, where I was working on lichens. Lichen is another organism where this algae and fungus, they grow together, and I was basically studying those lichens. And then there was a post of scientist at CSMCRI, and I applied for this. And then I was got selected. And when I came to CSMCRI, my first assignment was identification of different seaweeds. I am basically a trained taxonomist. Taxonomist is the person who basically specialized in identification of any kind of organism, and that's how I landed up here.
And sir, before we move further on seaweed, there is a lot of conversation happening that a lot of people in science, a lot of people in various specializations, very intellectual people, intelligent people who have done great research, they move out of India. So, what's your message? There's talk of brain drain, that our intelligent people are going outside and they're doing great work outside everywhere. They're making all Indians proud. But at the same point of time, you spent a great time here and you decided to be here. So what's that prospect for people in science and technology in India? What is the future prospect for a scientist like you to stay in India or do extensive work and contribute to the growth?
Yeah, this is, I think, very important question, Vishwam. And if you ask my personal opinion, that you see, India is a great country.
Ji.
Let me tell you, I also worked in European countries for, on fellowship. I was at Belgium on one fellowship called Raman Research Fellowship by CSIR. And also I visited Japan. So I was exposed to different cultures. But let me tell you that our country is a great country and we have a lot of freedom to do science. Of course, and if you go and see anywhere, there will be challenges always. But we should not, give much importance to the challenges, and we should see how we can contribute for the great growth of our country. If you see, as far as Seaweed, as I said, CSMCRI is the only organization where seaweed research is going on, and we are very fortunate to have this subject started in CSMCRI long back in 1964, when basically we institute has decided to work on seaweeds. As our name says, Central Salt and Marine Chemical Research Institute. We largely work on areas on sea, related to sea. And seaweed is again a plant which grows in the seawater. Our institute decided to work on this, and a legendary phycologist, Mrs. Francisca Thivi, she, after her retirement, came and established this division, this branch of science in CSMCRI. After that, one Professor Krishnamurti, who is known as a father of modern phycology, he has taken over as a first head of the division. And these two legendary phycologists started this research in India. And I'm very proud to say that we are one of the best in international standards also. So we must go abroad to basically learn more things, new things. But at the end, we should not forget that India is our country and we are very proud of it. And we must come back and give back to the society and the country.
Right. So giving back to the society and country is completely important. And now with the modern day learnings and probably the current generation is able to take fruits of research and work done maybe 20, 30 years ago. And that's how the entire ecosystem works. Where in science and research, you do a research right now. Right now, it might be a very nascent stage, but in future, it is very important. So we have great scientists of India who has done great foundation. So our president was a scientist. So people should not forget
Yeah.
that you might start as a scientist, but you never know where you end up into and what God or what superpower or supernatural powers want you to do. And if you continue to do for India, there are a lot of organizations abroad which are taking Indian people. But at the
Yes.
same point of time, we need to say that what kind of research can add value to the nation building as a process.
Correct.
Otherwise, if everyone starts thinking individuality, then it will be very difficult for the growth of the nation to
Yeah.
happen.
See, just let me give you one example since you have said this. You see, as I said, when Mrs. Thivi and Professor Krishnamurti started phycology, seaweed research in the country, uh, I would like to draw your attention to the time when, during the World War II. You all know that because of war, there was a lot of problem. There were lot of problems for supply chain management, and agar was in a short supply those days. And then the technology for vaccine production, was fully depend on some kind of specialized agar, which was coming from Japan, and we were not having, as a country, was not having this. But we have today 46 different industries, small scale industries, of course, and couple of large industries. Today, they are basically producing agar. And Mrs. Francisca Thivi, with her own knowledge, she taught how to make agar. So this what exactly you are telling. When we were not knowing much about it, we struggle a lot. We have developed our own indigenous technologies, and today we are, of course, we are not self-sufficient even today, but we have made great, progress. It's the fruit, I think, we are getting back after 20-30 years, of very good research.
Great, sir. Good to hear that part also. Now, moving to the topic of seaweed. Sir, what is seaweed? Because it's that, as the name suggests, it's a weed. So, is it really a weed, or is it useful, not useful? What all seaweed is used it to?
It is very unfortunate that we call it as a weed, because weed has a negative connotation. And previously also I told in one of the meetings that, if you ask me personally, I would call it as a kalparuksh of sea, because they are so useful. To give you a simple layman perspective, they are plants. Technically, they are not true plants, but as I said, to give layman a definition of seaweed, they are marine plants, and they grow inside the sea, and they largely occupy a space which is intertidal areas, which are in between high tide and low tide. Some of the seaweeds also occupy the areas which are subtidal. A lot of diversity is present in tropical waters, tropical and subtropical waters. But temperate also, there are different type of seaweeds which are very large and known as kelp, and there are forest, kelp forest are very well known. So seaweeds basically are marine plants which are very useful, and there are no weeds. But this name has been in practice for several centuries. But they are also known as marine macroalgae. That's better term. They are marine, macroscopic, and they are algae. So I would call them as marine macroalgae.
Okay, so you would call it as marine
Yes.
micro. And where all places are seaweeds used?
So you see, it is a very interesting question, and I always tell that we do not know that we have been using at least 30 to 40 products every day, which have some part of seaweed. Just to give you example, that when we get up and brush our teeth, so toothpaste, which contains substantial amount of seaweed, because seaweeds gives you a very unique kind of polysaccharides, and these polysaccharides are very unique to seaweeds. That means you don't have any other resource from which you can extract these polysaccharides. To name, they are agar, alginate, and carrageenan. They are basically polysaccharides used as a thickening agent, stabilizers. As I said, they are there in the cosmetics, they are there in the pet food and whatnot, everywhere. As I said, boot polish, and wherever you feel something jelly like substance, they all are from seaweeds. And second, if you see a global statistics, seaweeds are commercially cultivated. Okay, 20 years ago they were harvested from nature, but you know that this is another resource, and we should not harvest this too much. And as science progress, lot of cultivation technologies, farming technologies were discovered and developed, and there are 5 to 6 Southeast Asian countries, including in India. Now we have perfected farming technologies, and currently there are around 36 million metric ton fresh seaweed is the annual production, which has a trade value of 18 billion US dollar. That an extent seaweeds are farmed and used. And if you see a large extent of this harvest, more than 75%, 80% goes in the food, directly taken as a food, human food, and rest of the 30 to 20% is going for polysaccharide. And as I said, India, we do not have, tradition of consuming seaweed. And that's why all our applications in the country are largely with the polysaccharides.
So, sir, the are seaweeds currently imported in India, or are we self sufficient in terms of seaweeds?
Yeah, see, as I said, after World War II, or when we got independence, we were not having sufficient technological background, and we slowly developed, this research area. Today, we still import seaweeds or seaweed products, I would say. As I said, agar, alginate, and carrageenan, they have a very different statistics. But if you go largely around 30% to 60%, we are still importing. But the good part is, as I said, we have developed farming technologies, and we also have developed processing technologies. So we have been slowly and steadily making progress for indigenous production of both feedstock as well as products. So that is something very good development.
So there is an immense scope. That's
Yes.
where we come from because we are importing. Number one, number two, as you said, there is a huge market of seaweed.
Yes.
So if we have to develop a product which we can export because we have a very huge coastline. You are born and brought up in
Yes.
that area, and Gujarat also has a very huge coastline. So entire India is covered from three sides from for sea. So that gives us a very great opportunity to do production of seaweed.
I will tell you that commercial cultivation of seaweeds was started in early 2000. Our institute is, we take pride in telling that we have developed a viable cultivation practices for largely for red seaweeds, which are being harvested and processed for two important products, agar and carrageenan. And Tamil Nadu is most progressive states where for last 20 years commercial cultivation of seaweeds is going on, and we basically a recent current figure that we have produced around 600 tons of seaweeds last year, and other states, especially Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, and up to some extent Orissa, they have also taken lot of efforts in popularizing this technology, and efforts are underway to commercially cultivate these seaweeds. So this is something very important and socially relevant, because you give lot of livelihood options to the coastal fishermen who are having difficulties on sustainability, especially for fishing. Fishing is such a industry where our fishery stocks are declining, and I think this is one of the greatest opportunity. As you rightly said, we are surrounded from three sides with very good warm coastal waters, and cultivation can be a good option for all the fishermen.
So this can be one way of looking at it. At the same point of time, just want to know the perspective because as seaweed grows on its own,
Yes.
at lot of places, if in case not cultivated, and people if they just take it out from the marine ecosystem, what kind of damage it could do if seaweeds are procured in that way?
Okay. So, see, one of the, as I said, after World War II, one of the first development which our country did is establishing 14 different landing centers, like fish landing center. Today there are 14 different landing centers, especially in Tamil Nadu. There are some locations even in Gujarat also where people are harvesting it from nature, exactly like you said. And people have been harvesting it for at least couple of decades now. But of late, policymakers, even fishermen, they themselves realize that although it is marine renewable resources, but we should have some kind of, control over its harvesting. And I'm very happy to tell that people in Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, in consultation with scientists like us, they develop, a kind of program, or you would say a timetable, when to harvest, how much to harvest. Because, they are also plants, as I said, and they produce spores and seeds like that. They don't produce seed, but as I said, spores. And then they naturally release it, and, new plants, new crop is recruited. So fishermen, they have developed a timetable by which during their reproductive time they don't harvest. Indirectly, they are basically allowing the seaweeds to shed their spores, and the new crop, they allow new crop to germinate so that they can have a very sustainable harvest. So the
Right.
good part is, now in the country we have very clear, protocol when to harvest, how much to harvest. So I don't think we'll have trouble in near future, and we'll be basically doing. And as I said, good part is most of these fisherwomen who were initially engaged in harvesting, they were given hands-on training. Our institute and many other institutes which are involved in seaweed cultivation, they have given hands-on training to these people, and they are slowly converted into a farming practices. So there are people now in Tamil Nadu and some parts of Gujarat where these harvesters are now turned into a growers.
Okay, so they have started growing.
Yes.
There are systematic processes which
Yes.
organizations like yours have created.
Yes.
As you are the only one organization which is supporting this entire uh, research and training them.
There are a couple of other organizations also, as I said, but our organization is the largest organization where closely, around 15 to 17 scientists and technical staff, they are involved in only seaweed research. So no other organization has this much of trained manpower. So there are organizations, two, three other organizations, they are also doing research on seaweed. But as I said, we are having a large trained manpower.
And sir, how diverse is types of seaweeds? What are the types of weeds,
Yeah.
seaweeds?
Good question, Vishwam. You see, we are tropical country, and we have a very good, enormous diversity. In 1970, the first checklist, checklist, they call it as a checklist of seaweeds of India was published by our own organization, and we reported close to 500 seaweeds at that time. And this is a continuous research, and people discover new species and new locations and surveys and like that. And the last checklist of our country was published in 2014, and we are today close to around 1,000 different types of seaweeds reported from Indian waters, and they are classified based on their color pigment, and we classify them into red, green, and brown kind of seaweeds. And we have really good diversity where we can develop lot of applications from them.
What do they play as a role in marine ecosystem?
Yeah. See, so far we talked only about industrial applications, okay? But they are there since, ocean existed. Since that time, all these marine organisms are there in the nature. and they must have some kind of role to play,
Hmm.
and same way seaweeds have different roles. And of late research is more onto this rather than applications of seaweed. And what we understood that they play a lot of role into providing a habitat for juveniles of different marine invertebrate animals. So they provide a breeding ground, they provide refuge to these small creatures. Another important role is, you see, seaweeds are photosynthetic organisms. Like any other forest, I told you the kelp forest exists. Same way in tropical areas, there are seaweeds like sargassum, which produces lot of canopy underwater. They do photosynthesis, so lot of oxygen is evolved. What we are today breathing, we always think that it comes from forest, but substantial amount actually comes from marine ecosystem. So seaweeds basically provide oxygen. Also, since they are photosynthetic organism, they act as a CO2 sink. We all talk about carbon emission today, but a lot of this carbon dioxide is taken by these organisms, and they store it. So these are things they do. Also, a lot of nutrients are generally released into the sea. So many of the places it becomes eutrophicated water. That means there are so much of nutrient being released, and these seaweeds actually act as a filter, because they absorb phosphate and they absorb nitrate and they grow. So they play a lot of ecological role, additional ecological role. As I said, oxygen generation, CO2 sink, and then removal of carbon dioxide and excess nutrients, and that's how they are very useful in the ecosystem.
Okay, so that ways it also acts as taking care of balancing the pollution. Lot of
Yes.
things are already there. There's so much of pollution today's time.
They clean our oceans, In short, they clean our ocean.
As seaweeds clean our oceans, and they're a wonderful uh, part of our nature. Historically, what was the use of seaweed by the human
Yeah, yeah.
population?
See, I would give you an example, and you will be surprised to know, because I was reading some documents and I learned that historically seaweeds were used for preparation of glass, you know, because seaweeds also has silica, and there were industries, especially in Europe and some other parts of the world, where all these brown seaweeds, largely kelp, and they were basically processed, and there was a huge industry for processing and converting this into a glass. That was historical use. And people have also discovered through fossil records, etc., that at several places, not only in Southeastern Asian countries, they were also part of a human diet, And as I said, polysaccharides and all is all known. And historical records are mostly found in China and Japan, where, they were part of human diet and several other products.
Right. And sir, as you said that it takes care of carbon and carbon emissions and all those things, and they also clean the oceans. But can seaweed actively also play a role in terms of combating the climate change?
Yes, see, I would give you another example. What I said so far are direct roles, like oxygen, cleaning the atmosphere, or carbon sink, storage of carbon, etc. But there are two very good examples I would give, because our institute basically works on this. One is biostimulants. As see, you have to understand that seaweeds, as they grow in the sea, depending on the species, they have 90 to 95% water inside their body. Okay, and all these polysaccharides which I am talking are cellulose polysaccharide. Rest of it is a polysaccharide. And our institute has made a great discovery, and we have got US patent also, where we have separated these two compounds, and for the first time we have shown that two products in an integrated manner can be obtained from seaweeds. Okay, one is polysaccharide, another one is basically a water which is present there. We call it as a seaweed sap. And when we did a research, we understood that it is a good source of fertilizer. Now we call it as a biostimulants, and our institute has worked on this with 46 different agriculture institutes, and centers throughout the country. We have taken trials with almost all the states in the country with 20 different crops. We realized at the end of our study that yield of this crop can be increased from 11% to 40%, and we also understood that farmers can use it and basically save almost 25% of their cost on the fertilizer. So you see, indirectly, we are basically helping with reduction in the processing, because all these fertilizer, when you produce a fertilizer, lot of carbon emission will happen. So now you have to understand that by using seaweed biostimulants, you are basically reducing carbon emission. This is very important point. The second point is our institute has also done some research in collaboration with other organization, veterinary organization, where seaweed has been introduced into the diet of animals, and you must be knowing that methane production is another problem, for global warming. And our research has shown that as less as 1% to 1.5% incorporation of seaweeds into the diet of this ruminant can basically reduce the methane production. So here also directly you are controlling global warming by using this. So I think I would say that we have great scope. And because country like India, where we have large population of cows and things like that, where we have a white revolution, we're introducing this in the diet of these animals would greatly help us in reducing the global warming.
And one more perspective, because I've done a very interesting podcast with Ramesh Bhai Patel. He is one of the leading managing trustee of Shrishti. They work extensively with farmers. I've also had the privilege to interact with farmers and visit farmlands, understanding with great interest. So basically, sir, there is a problem that one side of the world is saying that there is not enough, that by having vegetarian, or one side of the conversation is that there is not enough there will be a organic production possible.
Yeah.
They have their own ways. There are a lot of people who advocate for organic and environment friendly production. So there is also a problem of soil enrichment.
Yes.
With over farming and with not having enough balance, by if seaweeds can, as you said, they are already used as biofertilizers, so they are completely chemical free because there is no chemical form associated into it. It's natural, it's environment friendly if done in a proper way, which your organization supports. So if that can be used as manure or fertilizer in different way, automatically the soil enrichment also happens.
Yeah. And you see, another research our institute has done, where, you have to understand soil is a live material. We should not call soil as, just minerals and all, because you have lot of microorganisms in that,
Absolutely.
like fungi, bacteria. And our research had shown that when you apply these biostimulants derived from seaweeds, they basically enrich these microorganisms. So another important point, you have to understand that one way they are increasing, adding, minerals and things like that, they also enrich the flora, microbial flora of soil. Their role is to convert all these minerals into a form which is easy for a plant to assimilate. Means they make bioavailability of all these compounds ready for the plants to absorb.
And sir, as we talked about this, at the same point of time, as India has a lot of coastal belt, it can be made available without transportation also. So transporting is also very important. Plus, reducing the use of various other chemical fertilizers,
Yeah.
which we import. We have a huge import. That lot of time it is said that China would stop an XYZ import of fertilizers, and which is going to get impacted. So if seaweed fertilizers and biostimulants and various products can be used, it can also always at least reduce the need of chemical fertilizers.
Absolutely.
Over a period of time, if it might not be stopped completely, but it can be reduced. And
Correct. You are absolutely correct, Vishwam. And we have been working very tirelessly on this. I am extremely happy to tell that our technology has been taken by more than 25 different companies, small and large both, including startups. And one of the leading organization, IFCO, they basically produce this biostimulant and market it in our country for last several years. And very recently, Kripko also has taken a technology, and they have also started, producing based on our R&D. So we feel very happy that things are going in right direction and spirit.
right. And sir, how realistically, what steps we can take as a nation to, in terms of combating climate change, and how can seaweed can be incorporated in that strategy?
Yeah, this is a very important question. Seaweed is at very nascent stage in the country, I would say, because if you compare us with leading nations, which are 5 to 6, largely in Southeast Asian area, like Philippines or Indonesia or China for that matter, we are not that large. But as I said, we have been doing it for last 20 years. One of the very important point we should develop is carbon credit, because which is something which is not known to many people. By cultivating seaweed, as I said, they are doing so much of ecosystem servicing, and one can give some points, carbon credit points or things like that, and encourage the farmers, to grow it on very large scale. And two things will happen. One will, it will create a employment generation, especially in the rural coastal areas. And second one is it will definitely help in reducing, or combating the carbon emission.
And sir, do you think if in future, if the name of seaweed could change as a terminology, people will take this subject more seriously and more interesting way of really doing? Because I come from the field of advertising, marketing, because the way you promote it, it changes the perspective.
Correct. I would love to know a new terminology, like as I rightly said before, it's a marine kalparuksha. Let us call it as marine kalparuksha than seaweeds, or even marine macroalgae.
Unknowingly, we talked about industry and everything, but at the same point of time, do you think, as you said, toothpaste के अंदर आता है सीवीड आता है, तो वही तरीके से और कौन कौन सी प्रोडक्ट है जिसके अंदर सीवीड इनकॉर्पोरेट होता है?
टूथपेस्ट में होता है, एंड देन डेयरी प्रोडक्ट्स में होता है. सी, you would be surprised to know that largest industry which uses this seaweed derived polysaccharide is a meat industry, okay, and followed by dairy industry. These are the two big applications, because when people export meat, tenderness is a quality criteria, and the seaweed's polysaccharide has ability to absorb large amount of water. Some of them can even absorb more than 5 to 6 times of its weight, and that's how they find application in meat and dairy industry. Wherever there is a stabilizing effect is required, they are used. I would say even today Gelusil, which we take as an antacid, their seaweed polysaccharide is used. Alginate is a great source for textile industry, and there are, as I said, toothpaste, cosmetics, they are there. So even pet food and baby food formulations, wherever there is a stabilizing effect people want, they are using it.
And currently, you said earlier there is a production of 600 tons.
Yes, today our country last year produced 600 tons through cultivation.
Through cultivation.
Yes, but there is a much larger amount which is harvested. As I said, there are 14 different landing centers where largely fisherwomen, they go and dive into the sea and collect various forms of seaweeds, and around 2000 to 3000 tons of seaweed are gathered today in India. What 600 tons I said are basically cultivated, and much larger proportion is collected through natural harvesting.
Okay. And how much would be the value of seaweed approximately range?
Yes, you would be surprised to know that whatever natural gathering industry is there, that industry is estimated to be around 300 to 400 crores per annum. And whatever biomass we have cultivated also is around, as per the current market value of per kg of cultivated biomass, around 10 crores, have gone into the pocket of seaweed cultivators last year. So it's a big amount.
What's the price of, on an average, say 100 kg or 10 kg or something?
See, basically, these prices are depending on need. But if you see today, cultivated seaweed, I am telling, that is around 140 rupees a kg. Okay. And as I said, there are different types of seaweeds. You have to understand that seaweed is a generic term, but there are different species which specifically industry need. For example, Gillidiella acerosa. This particular red seaweed is most sought after for production of bacteriological grade agar. Bacteriological grade agar is a very specific kind of agar where gel strength is very high. So its price is very high. And then there is another Gracilaria edulis, which is used for food grade agar, where price is different. Then, as I said, there is a alginate for which there are two seaweeds, Sargassum and Turbinaria. They are harvested. Their price is different. So prices are different based on the species and the method, like either it is collected or cultivated.
Prices may vary based on cultivation or
Correct.
collection. And then, as you said, what kind of imports do we do?
See, I think you have to understand, because it's a big dynamics, and nowadays largely premixes are imported. For example, in ice cream, we use seaweeds. If you make a ice cream at home without adding any powder or any premix, you will always find that there are ice crystals. When you eat, you will find that there are ice crystals form in the ice cream. But when you go and eat ice cream outside, any branded ice cream, you don't find those ice crystals in your mouth. That is because of this seaweed product. So now people still import agar, carrageenan and alginate pure form, but lot of it is now imported as a form of premixes. For even for toothpaste, nobody basically brings polysaccharide and then mix it. There are premixes these days available. So both are imported, either a specific polysaccharide or a premix, depending on its utility.
Now we can say that it is used as an ingredient, so
Yes,
not
ingredient.
directly. There could be indirect imports to a great
Yes,
extent.
indirect import to a great extent, and largely import of agar and alginate and carrageenan. Both are happening.
So yeah, so as an ingredient also it is imported
Yes.
as a
Specific product also. Specific chemicals rather.
biochemicals.
Yes,
It's
chemicals.
and at the same point of time, sir, what do you think? Which are the countries which are working on this extensively?
See, you have to understand that traditionally these seaweeds are used by Southeast Asian countries. Okay, large portion even today goes in a edible seaweed market, and that's how lot of research is happening in countries like Japan or China on research part. Of late, European countries also understood that this is very important field. Especially people call it as a superfood, because it has a more amount of protein, and then there are some kind of specific ingredients like omega-3 fatty acids, which you don't get from any other, vegetarian source, and it is there. So people of Europe, especially institutes in Europe and America also, they are doing lot of research these days on this. Of course, I told you case of our institute in India. We have been working for this domain for last 50 to 60 years. We have a field laboratory located near Rameshwaram at a place called Mandapam, where we basically do lot of extension work, largely for cultivation, developing and testing our cultivation practices. So we do lot of research.
A lot of research is going on, and we hope this research continues and India gets a lot of benefit
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of it. And so, sir, moving on further, as we said that lot of dairy products, lot of industries are already doing it. So what is your expectation in coming 1 year, or say coming 5 to 10 years? How much growth of seaweed industry you are expecting?
See, I look it very positive way. You have to also understand that government is pushing this sector very hard. I am happy that government has identified this seaweed sector as a sunrise industry in the country. For the first time, couple of years ago, our honorable finance minister has basically given a specific grant for seaweed cultivation and processing. Around 600 crore were separately kept for this under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. And you would be remembering that 3 years ago, Honorable Finance Minister has announced establishment of Seaweed Park. It is one of the unique, initiative by Government of India, where they are going to develop a place where farmers would get high quality, high yielding seedlings. Also, there will be a processing, facilities which people can go and use it. Then there would be a quality control laboratories. So things are going very, right direction. But as a researcher, if you ask me, we also do have our own issues. One of the classical example would be in 2013-14, there was a mass mortality of seaweeds in the country, and our production has dropped very drastically, and our institute has worked very hard to understand biosecurity concerns of this sector. We understood that we have to develop our own varieties, good varieties, which are high yielding and abiotic and biotic resistant. For example, if there would be a change in temperature, you would get less yield. So we have to have varieties which can tolerate a difference in temperature, which can tolerate difference in salinity. For example, if there is a unseasonal rain, salinity would drop very drastically, but the crop should survive. So we need these kind of varieties,
Hmm.
disease resistance varieties. So we are working on that. Another important aspect is this polysaccharides, processing requires a lot of water. So it has a very high water footprint, and that would, basically result into pollution. So what we have been working very hard, and we are successful in developing zero discharge processes, a green process. So there would be no discharge, no pollution, and this kind of research we are doing. So in next 5 years, I would see that more industries would adopt this kind of technologies. Then another point is, as I said, in Tamil Nadu, we have been doing it for last 20 years, and couple of other states are also coming up. And we would know which is the suitable place where commercial cultivation can take place. So we are working on a Seaweed Mission project funded by CSIR, and we have identified close to 80 different locations pan India level where people can go and start cultivation of seaweeds. Diversification of species. So far, our country is largely cultivating a red algae called Capophycus alvarizi, and other species also we need to cultivate. For example, a good initiative is by Lakshadweep administration, where Gracilaria edulis, which is agar yielding, food grade agar yielding seaweed, is cultivated for last couple of years. That is something in next 5 years I would look that it should happen. Then there is another aspect, that is food algae. And food algae is something which I look forward that especially places like Gujarat, where people don't eat seafood because of religious beliefs, and seaweed can basically supply all those nutrients and beneficial compounds which one can get through by eating
Hmm.
seafood. So I would see these are the developments our country would be doing in next 5 years.
Overall, as we know, seaweed, what are the opportunities if someone wants to start uh, anything around seaweed? What are the different kind of opportunities to start up?
Yeah, I think a very important question, Vishwam. You see, as I said, there are direct opportunities for production of polysaccharides, by adopting our technologies or the technologies developed by other organizations. One of the opportunity is zero liquid discharge. People are not practicing today. Very few people, one of the entrepreneur has taken our technology and he is now establishing this. So this is one direct opportunity of producing the polysaccharides. But what I would suggest more opportunities is, there is some kind of chemical modification one can do into these polysaccharides, by which they can impart various different qualities. For example, I said that this polysaccharide can hold water, but by chemically modifying them, they can hold more water, and one can have applications in diapers, sanitary pads. I'm just giving you a couple of examples. Another important thing, like they are commercially cultivated today, and any other crop, they also require seed, and seed is not available. You have different ways by which you can create a seed. So I would say that more entrepreneurs should come into establishing seed production facilities, germplasm bank, one can say. So these kind of things can come. Another thing, as edible seaweeds, they specifically require, kind of different cultivation systems, and that also opens up opportunity for entrepreneurs. Also, I would suggest that more industries should come through their CSR, corporate social responsibility, to start this.
Hmm.
So there are many opportunities.
So these ways there are different opportunities already available, either getting into direct production or processing the
Yes.
seaweed. So there are a lot of open windows, and then at the same point of time, what kind of permissions are required? because you have to go directly at how much distance seaweed is
Yeah.
grown, and उसके बारे में सर थोड़ा
Yeah,
बताइए.
yeah. So see, government has made lot of simplification policies, has developed policies, lot of simplification they have made. Currently, no great permissions are required. Fisheries department of every state is empowered, to give that kind of permission, and they are also working, with government of India to develop, portals by which one can go and just apply. Aquaculture Authority of India is the nodal authority, where they have developed a forms where one can go and apply. Wherever you want to do cultivation, you have to go and approach the sarpanch of that area, and probably you need to take village level permission, but there are no great barriers, and whatever issues are there, government is working very hard, and I am happy that government has brought two gadgets last year and a year before. These are two for even import of live material. If somebody wants to develop and start cultivation of different seaweeds, there are guidelines available. And if somebody wants to have seed production facility, guidelines are available. So guidelines are in place.
So guidelines are in place, and with minimal permissions,
Yes,
this can quickly be started.
correct.
But where is it actually farming? Where is
Yeah,
it done?
you have asked me that question. Currently, our technologies which our institute has developed are very simple. You do not have to go deep into the water. There is no need. Intertidal area is sufficient. Intertidal area is an area between high tide and low tide. You can, if you see in Tamil Nadu, especially in Ramnathpuram district, 90% seaweed farmers are women, and they go into the chest deep water, even less than that, and they bring the material on the shore, then they seed it, and then they give it to a male counterpart, or some areas they themselves go. So basically, wherever I would say that you can go into the areas, you can select such areas where lot of inputs are not required. Human inputs are sufficient. Even you don't need a big boats also. Even if you want to use boats, a simple boat, hand operated boat also can be sufficient. What our country has given a very unique mechanism to the entire world is self-help group. So women in Tamil Nadu and other parts of the country have developed a small group. They work in the group, and it is very easy for them even to raise finances. And I'm happy to tell that NABARD is basically have a scheme in which they can get a finance to start this cultivation, and State Bank of India also is giving finance, and there are several state government as well as government of India ka schemes in which they get lot of subsidy. So things are good. It is very good opportunity for fishermen to adopt this technology.
And sir, in this is once we take the yield, is it easily sellable, or is it perishable, or what does it happen in the entire cycle? Because it's very important that people cultivate, then it should be sold also quickly and they get the yield.
Correct.
And how's the entire cycle of seeding to sales?
Yeah. See, first point I would say about cycle, they are very small cycles. Unlike a land plant, you don't have to wait for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. These cycles are very small depending on temperature. For example, if the temperature are quite good, ambient temperature is something around 28 to 32, or even 25 to 32, and you can get crop as quickly as 35 days to 50 days. So that's the ambient crop cycle. One can expect 4 to sometimes even 5 crops also in areas, and they are very easy, as I said, very simple. At farmer level one can implement. Seeding technologies are not mechanized or very simple, woman can undertake. Harvesting also is not mechanized. You can just bring cultivation structures, either monoline or tube nets or floating bamboo rafts. These are the three major techniques currently being used in the country. One can bring them to the shore and harvest. Now there are two ways to sell the produce. One is directly selling a fresh produce where processing facilities are very much available in the vicinity. And the fresh produce can be, as I said, can be converted into two products. One is sap or seaweed biostimulant, and rest of the residue can be basically converted into a polysaccharide. So there are many industries which are basically processing it immediately. If you do not have a processing facility in very much near, you can simply dry it, sun dry or shade dry, anything. And generally it takes 2 or 3 days to dry it completely, and then you can sell it, as and when you have sufficient biomass to sell. And very simple is, it's a vegetatively propagated red algae, I'm telling. So every crop you don't have to buy seed again. Need seed immediately after monsoon, but after you start cultivation, every time some part of it you can keep it as a seed for next cycle. So this is first thing. We have also collaborated with government of Tamil Nadu, where we have developed and established a plant, 0.25 tons per day capacity plant, very near to Mandapam. This plant is entirely, operated by self-help groups themselves. So you see, you don't have to depend on, other industries also. And we call it as an empowerment model. Some of the educated members of the self-help group, either youth or some women, can basically process their own produce, and they can brand it and sell it. So you have basically very simple methodologies for harvesting and processing also.
Now, as you said about processing facilities are available at few places, and you people can also dry it and
Yes.
then they can sell it with sufficient biomass. So there is no chance that it will get wasted, or it needs to be stored in the cold format, or
No, no.
there is no high end things.
Yeah.
In India, sufficient sunlight is also
Yes.
available, so drying is also not an issue, which you explained that sun drying is also possible. So
And very recently, our institute has also developed a solar dryer. Okay. And this solar dryer is a multi-purpose vehicle. And we have tested, a couple of cycles of drying it into a dryer where qualities are much better than even drying it directly into the sun. And it's more efficient also, where you can dry it in a, day or two. So these also are technologies available.
further to throw light, sir, India and especially Gujaratis are known for business के पैसा कहाँ बनेगा. So अगर some entrepreneur or someone wants to start this business or something, where is the real money? Is it in farming? Is it in processing? Or it is in creating an IP or creating your own brand or creating a product out of seaweed?
I would say, it's my personal opinion, of course. Uh, don't go for processing. Don't go for cultivation also. What country needs today is sufficient quality and quantity of seed. Okay, as I said, we have developed technologies for by which you can create a seed. I would just give you one example. If you go and buy a rice, good quality rice, for our home, uh, then you can probably get rice something between 60 rupees or 100 rupees a kg. It's a generic, I'm telling. But if you go and buy a kg of rice for sowing it, I am sure the cost would be at least 2.5 to 3 times more, than what we consume. Same way is with a seed, because your question you have asked, where is the money? If you ask me, today money is more in the seed, because you see, this sector is expanding so fast. 5 years ago, there were no activities in other states apart from Tamil Nadu, very sporadic activities. Today, there are huge activities going on in Andhra Pradesh. Very recently, our institute has, signed an MOU with Andhra Pradesh government. Honorable CM was there in the function, and there are activities in Karnataka, there are activities in Gujarat already happening. All these people need sufficient seed, and even one can expand it when there is a seed available. So I would suggest more Gujaratis should come up with seed production units and probably give seed to the entire country, not only to Gujarat.
Right, right. Great to know that. So we can get into the business where best quality seeds are generated, and that can be used in making seaweed grow
Yes.
globally. Now, coming to a very small and important question is that farmers are usually they struggle in taking getting paid well. So, are farmers of seaweed today are fairly compensated?
See, I would answer your question as yes, first thing. You also have to understand that I gave you example of creating two products from one feedstock. That was revolutionary. We got US patent for that. How it has helped to domestic growers is prior to that, or largely if you see this sector, most of the countries which are not consumer countries, they import this. Okay. And import all depends on the global prices. So if there is a crisis in the price, your domestic price also is going to go down, and there the farmers will have problem because they would spend more to produce but get less, like how we get in the agriculture crops. But our own technology has created a new market, biostimulant market, which is so high that we as a country never faced problem of global pricing. We were actually compensating the farmers in very good way, and our licensees, at least there are a couple of licensees, they have developed their own ways, by which farmers are always getting good price. And today there are many players in the market. That is one way good also, because farmers will have more options to sell it to one. It is not a monopoly of one company. Always there will be a another buyer available. So I would not say that we have trouble in pricing today, at least.
All right. And in near future also we don't see that problem coming.
I think more we should promote as farmers itself can become a seller. Government should give more emphasis on processing. Like as I said, with Tamil Nadu government, they being a very visionary, through our empowerment model, they are training farmers only to process, and every government has their own agriculture needs also, no? So they can basically use entire biostimulant for their own need. So I think if these kind of models are coming, farmers will be always protected.
So protecting the farmers is very important. And as you work in the scientific study, but at the same point of time, as you said, there is a 600 CR grant specially kept for
Yes.
seaweed. Now, are there, that's a grant. But apart from that, if someone wants to start anything in seaweed business, do they have finance options readily available, or it's still lot of things needs to be done?
Of course, we have to constantly evolve, Vishwam. A brighter point is we have today specific grants available, which were not there, a specific budget for seaweed within fisheries ministry. Another, every state government also is, coming up with their own specific programs. I would give you a very recent example of Maharashtra government. Maharashtra government has become the first state government in the country who has allocated 1 crore grant a couple of days ago in through their annual budget, where they have kept it for seed production units, establishing a brood bank. Another example is Andaman government. You were asking me question, what are the permission required? They have basically developed a specific program for leasing out the areas. So that way there are grants available, there are mechanism available. Another important thing, I would not look at this as a specific, business. There is so much government is doing for entrepreneurs. There are startup grants. I think we should make use of Startup India program even to start, anything with seaweed. Why to go specifically to Fisheries Ministry every time? They have, of course, anyway, they have programs, but this Startup India, etc., can also be leveraged, to start the company. See, I don't think there is a problem with money in our country. Our country has very good programs, very good grant is available. It is only a willingness of people. Young people should think differently, Vishwam. They should not think a very traditional way and should always utilize the opportunities.
Right. So we'll also try and put some links in the podcast where people can go to CSMCRI website, and also maybe we can find out some documents which we can put it over there. We can upload it on a Google Drive document, and people can find various presentations. See, or Vishwam, material.
We are doing one program. I'm sure Skill India program of Government of India, under which CSIR also started giving skill courses in various sectors. And for last 5 to 6 years, we have been successfully conducting this program, and this is one of the most sought after program of our institute, where also we tell people it is a 3-day program, and I think so far more than 2,500 different individuals were benefited with this. In this program itself, we tell this, where grants are available, what are the schemes, so people can make use of it.
So there are a lot of programs already available, and people can really join in CSMCRI in this entire journey of promoting seaweed. But at the same point of time, sir, where do we stand in terms of the global market?
But see, definitely we are at very below when you think about global, position. But you also have to understand the countries which are at very top have a legacy of utilizing seaweed and cultivation of seaweed, etc. For example, Japan. And of course, there are countries like Indonesia and Philippines have made lot of progress. But I would say that we have to understand that we are different country. Our culture is different. Our areas of cultivating seaweeds are different. We are different. So what we should see that where we were 10 years ago and where we are today and where we would like to go after another 10 years. If these things are clear, I think we have bright future. I would not suggest us to compare with other countries. They have their own different things. And one good thing is we are really doing progress. Okay. If you see 10 years ago, people were not knowing this much, and government has, as I said, how much, efforts are taken, and I'm sure in another 10 years, we will be making our presence felt, at least in top 3 countries, I would say.
If that happens, then there are a lot of prospects where there can be a new dimension which can really impact, maybe in a very small way, it can impact our GDP, and net import can also be reduced. Yes. And also with the export, we can really balance it up with our other form of, say, managing it financially.
Yes. I think we should see that first we should become self-sufficient before we think about imports. Import is of course a good perspective, but we should see that we should stop basically
importing.
Export. I mean, so we should basically have to have self-sufficiency first.
So we'll have self-sufficiency first, and then correct. Probably we can exporting. Yeah. So right now, if we reduce the imports and
yes.
becoming self-sufficient,
that
it will
itself is a great, uh, contribution.
Yeah, that will eventually, at whatever scale, lead reduction and saving our foreign
Correct.
reserves.
Absolutely.
So exports will add the foreign reserves,
Correct. Correct.
but first we should
Stop
stop from
import.
yes
Correct.
importing. So, sir, how has been your research uh, till now about seaweed? How has been the journey so far?
Yeah. So if you ask me personally, it is a very exciting journey. I would give you one very excellent example, Vishwam. As I said, I joined this organization as the taxonomist, where I am supposed to identify species. And then director one day called me and said that this some algae is there, and my chemical colleagues, at that time discovered that it gives highest gel strength reported so far in the world. Okay, for which we got patent also later on. So he asked me that you should identify this species. These colleagues of mine were telling that it has XYZ name. And I was told that please identify and tell what is the name, because we were thinking of patenting it at that time. And I started, studying that algae. Later on, I did my PhD also on that, for which I referred very old literature, 1856, 1870, that kind of documents. I worked its life cycle. All these seaweeds also, they have life cycle. They have to go through different stages. And this discovery of life cycle is also important for undertaking commercial cultivation. And in next 10 to 15 years, I am very happy to tell that through one of the projects, we have produced 20 tons of feedstock, 20 tons of cultivated biomass for that algae, which has the highest gel strength. It's called Gracilaria dura. Later on, very recent time, we have also developed seedling production, and with one company through Government of India project, we also scaled the production of seedlings. So, it is very rewarding journey, and I'm very happy and satisfied that whatever me and my colleagues are doing has a direct relevance to the fisherman community.
Okay, so you come from a town where fishermen are
Yes.
very important part of it, and you're able to contribute to the same community where
Yes.
you have seen fishermen very closely, you have understood them, and now probably we are sitting in uh, a coastal town, of course, but sitting in a office, and you are contributing and taking it to the next level.
In short, I would say I am at right place at right time.
Great, sir. So being at right place at right time really matters.
Yes.
But so from where you came from Malvan to Bhavnagar, and you feel Bhavnagar as your hometown, and you're talking about your uh, say retirement plan or the other plans, where if you were given a chance, you would go settle down to the coastal town of Diu whenever in life, and you would want to teach fishermen about
Absolutely.
cultivation.
I would love to, teach fishermen cultivation. And this is something, you have to. I was told by one of the great scientists in the country that seeing your own research come to a fruiting stage in your lifetime is a rare opportunity. And as I said, of course, my career also, I had lot of challenges. It's not a, a rosy path. But if you see overall, as I said, this is the only organization, and you have to take in that spirit that I don't think the people who wanted to do a great research in seaweed, I think they all have to be in CSMCRI.
We will.
It is a legacy, as I said, it started from Mrs. Thivi itself. Imagine that several decades ago she thought, and you won't believe, she was the first lady in the country who did some kind of cultivation experiments in Porbandar. And she showed that it can be, done. And then Professor Krishnamurti, who started cultivation of Gracilaria edulis much before, when Indonesia and Philippines developed the technologies for mass culture of red algae. And that's how we have to understand that we have a legacy. Our institute has a legacy. We are only adding little bit of knowledge through our career. We are not making great discoveries. We are adding to whatever existing knowledge is there.
Sir, another segment which is very important, there are a couple of things one from your personal journey. I'll come to your personal journey a little later. Now, important aspect is in agriculture, in animal husbandry section. There is we are anyways facing a land crunch. If we want to say that agriculture is extremely important and animal husbandry is extremely important, we have one of the biggest milk brand of the world in India. So, and the consumers, our need of consumption is also huge.
Yes.
So, we need cattle stock for consumption. We need the soil improvement. There are a lot of things कि अगर आपने गाय भैंस जो भी एनिमल हस्बेंड्री के लिए एनिमल्स को आप रख रहे हैं फॉर डिफरेंट नीड्स, यू विल नीड टू फीड देम.
Yes.
For them, you need to grow food.
Yes.
So again, the need of land is there. And if you need more land, you have to cut down more trees. You have to encroach more of nature. So is it possible seaweeds are used extensively for the cattle feed?
Yeah, I told you sometime before that worldwide there is a new area of research where people are trying to incorporate some part of cattle feed with seaweed. And interestingly, we found out that when you incorporate seaweed into their diet, the methane emission from these organisms, cattle, is reduced drastically, 95%. So, there is definitely a scope, of incorporating this seaweed into the diet of animals. Also in poultry, one of the research our institute has done where it was shown that, calcium content and also egg laying capacity of hen, that also improved because of this. So it is always, but it is a science. One has to keep on doing different things and then we'll realize there is a scope. Definitely.
So there is a scope, and maybe there is a component to the food because you
Yes.
cannot change complete
Exactly. Absolutely.
entire
One day you
food
cannot make change.
yes.
Yes.
And there are a lot of prospects now in terms of agriculture. The soil is constantly getting deteriorated due to multiple factors. Let's not get into why it is getting deteriorated. We are having single grain cultivation, and there are a lot of things which are that there are one region which is constantly cultivating. So seaweed is also used in terms of soil improvement, and you said liquid fertilizers and
Yes.
biostimulants are used. How extensively in agriculture if seaweeds are used? What
See-
are the applications which are possible? Because this is for the farmers and people who are getting into organic production and they want to improve the soil. Even if you're not completely into organic farming, still.
See, like we talk about, one cannot change overnight the diet of animals and poultry. Same way, we should not be thinking that we'll stop everything and use seaweed. Okay, uh, one can, if you remember earlier, I said that farmer can save 25% of their agriculture input using seaweeds. So one can basically use seaweed based biostimulants directly into their farms where they can save on fertilizer, and slowly one can move, increasing and diversifying, or they can select such crops where it is very potent. Another thing, our institute also worked several decades ago. One can directly use seaweed as a manure. Biostimulant is a different category where you can either use in foliar form or you can give it through drip irrigation. But manure itself also can be used, which is also again organic. So there also you have tremendous scope.
Right. As you were saying that you just cannot just look soil as a
Yes.
dead thing. It has micronutrients, it has microorganisms.
Organisms.
And at the same point of time, there has been study that because of lot of factors, the soil's microorganisms are falling down. What
Yes.
were 10 years back, 50 years back, it is
Yes.
falling down drastically.
Yes.
Because we have we have moved to modern ways. We have
Yes.
moved to using chemicals, pesticides, and lot of things. So if we can use this as a biomass, can be used and
Yes, yes. This
manure
is a
directly.
solution. This is a futuristic solution. People are already using, some of the governments have also taking lot of efforts in popularizing seaweed based biostimulants.
Right. So we will fall short if we talk more further, because we might have to create another episode, and we'll surely do something special because Bhavnagar has multiple industries.
Yes.
Salt is one of the industry. Now you're bringing in seaweed revolution, and lot of things are happening. So thank you very much for your time, and if you could share something which people should keep in mind for the future of seaweeds.
Yeah, Vishwam, I think a future is bright for seaweed research, and there are, many new ideas are taking shape. And, for research, of course, as I said, sky is the limit, and we also will have lot of new challenges coming up in future as we grow, make it large scale. There are countries where there are disease problems, there are many things. So research is something which is constantly required. Policies are something, Ministry of Fisheries is working very hard, and Niti Aayog has, for the first time in the country, has brought up a policy document. I'm very happy that government is taking it very positively. So I think one has to constantly work on the challenges, and make this sector as helpful as possible for the improvement of fishermen's life. And it was really pleasure talking to you, Vishwam. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Before I end, let me thank all the researchers in the past, because I am sharing this knowledge because of efforts made by several scientists and technical staff of this organization. I am only speaking on their behalf, so I am thankful for this exciting research that has been conducted by people. I am also thankful to the past and present leadership, directors of CSMCRI, for always encouraging and supporting this field, all these years, at least since I joined till today. So I also would like to thank, my family members, because, research is something where you have to be like available always. You cannot take holidays. So I'm very much thankful to my wife and my daughter. And thank you very much again to you.
Thank you, sir. As I would also want to take this opportunity to talk about silent warriors who are working on India's growth. Same way, there are some things like ISRO happened. So ISRO happened because the leadership and the scientists and everyone thought that there is a great future. Same way, seaweed is one sector. Same way, there are so many small sectors which are not highlighted, or which are not getting that fame, or maybe it is not rewarding so much, but still there are people in science and people are in research, and lot of people are silently working on the lines. Maybe very silently it is visible, but let's appreciate all those people, and maybe not naming all the sectors together, but there are a lot of places where India's growth is based on these new avenues and small things which can change a lot of things. So thank you very much for your time, sir. And if there is any message to those people who feel that their work is not seen, but that is contributing to the nation building.
Yeah, I think definitely your work will come up one day. Only thing is you have to wait patiently, and your time will come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.